post-fight reaction. So I said in my video, if Crawford didn't tighten up on his defense, he would get stopped by Errol Spence. This fight, to me, was about one person making adjustments and another person not making the adjustments. So, first of all, this is the Terence Crawford era. Let's get that straight. Secondly, Errol Spence is dead at the weight. He's dead at welterweight. Almost 18 months of saying he was out of the ring. I'm not making those excuses, but he obviously was outgrown the weight division and stuck around to make the fight. No excuses. He was dead at the weight. You can see from round one he looked dead at the weight. But Crawford was able to make the adjustments in the fight, and Spence couldn't or wouldn't make the adjustments. His trainer, Derek James, was telling him to step around. Spence wouldn't. Spence just wanted to stand in the center of the ring and just have a fight. And at super fight level, you can't afford to just do what you like. And notice Bud Crawford was able to make the adjustments, stuck to his game plan, and not only stuck to his game plan, picked his moments to explode. Spence, as I said, in the pre-fight, I said that Spence has a habit of lunging. And when he lunges to throw shots, he'll get caught in between. And that was where I saw Crawford being dangerous. So Crawford made the adjustments. Crawford was able to have a tight defense. Crawford respected the fact of what Spence could do. Another significant thing I noticed is when Spence tried to push Crawford off, he just didn't have the strength. And this was early on in the fight. He tried to push Crawford back. He didn't have the strength. And that's a significant thing there of not being able to push a person back when you're physically strong at the weight is when you're weight drained. And he clearly was weight drained. So when you're weight drained, your punch isn't the same. You don't have the same snap on your punches. So your punches, all those punches he was landing, they didn't have the same power that they should do, or the same sort of respect that they would have done had he been a welterweight. See, with Crawford now, he moved into the weight category and he seemed far more comfortable in the weight division, and he seemed far more. He didn't look weight drained, whereas Spence showed everything of being dead at a weight, absolutely dead at a weight. And okay, so he says that, he's going to be, if they take the fight at light middleweight, sure, so Spence will be bigger and stronger. Maybe, arguably, he will be. But that doesn't mean he's going to be technically any better. If he doesn't if he doesn't listen to his trainer, his timing was off. But yeah, I guess having 18 months out of the ring, he still looked okay. And I think against any other opposition, he probably would have been undisputed champion on the night. He probably would have been able to pull it off. But against a guy like Crawford, with such margins in between, I guess he made the fight, and he made the fight happen, as he said, but to his own detriment. So you can't fault Crawford for that. And like I said, Crawford did all that was necessary to win the fight. He showed he was a better fighter or a better boxer on the night. But again, in a wishful thinking, you want everything to be perfect in a fight. You want a guy not to be weight drained. You want a guy to be on point. You want a guy to be sharp. You want a guy to follow the instructions of his trainer. I expected Spence to follow the instructions of his trainer, especially you're when he's dead at the weight. The last thing you would do is shipping a whole heap of shots, because you're dead at the weight. The last thing you do is taking a whole heap of shots. What you want to be doing is moving and not getting hit as much. But you're in the center line all the time. You know what I mean? Crawford just showed he was leagues above him, and I think the rematch will be more lethal. PBC tried to shout out Crawford. They didn't show him on the champions list, and it looks like they paid the price. Good evening to you, Ingram. Very poor from Errol. No need for a rematch. But every proud champion is going to want the rematch. I've seen fights where there's no need for a rematch. Bloody hell. How many fights have I seen where there's been no need for a rematch? Joshua versus Usyk, we had to see that all over again. So, one was technically better than the other. The thing about this fight that's interesting, the only thing I want to see at this fight is to see Errol Spence where he doesn't have to cut as much weight. And that's the only thing. That's the only thing. But otherwise, he's still going to be overcompensating. He's always still going to be stretching and leaving himself in position, and Crawford's still going to throw punches in between. So I don't know. I think it's just a bad start matchup for Spence. You know what I mean? He goes, Spence countered in size and power, but it was clear that he was slow compared to the smaller guy. He countered on his size and power, but his size and power wasn't there. He was dead at the weight. So what he counted on wasn't there. So he was a shell of himself there. And you can say outside, I still think that Spence would have beaten a lot of the welterweights in the world today in the state that he was in. Dead at the weight, but you can't cut corners, and that is really cutting corners at the highest level. Cutting corners meaning that you're not 100%, and he wasn't 100%. Again, that is not Crawford's problem. If you're not good at the weight, move up. But then if you're moving up, you've got your stablemate there at light middleweight. So, there are issues there as well. So, would you say Evan caused him more problems? Yeah, I would say so. The Great Machine probably caused him more problems as well. If they fight 54 pound, it will be good, but it will be still a problem. That style is a problem for EJ. It is. It is. It is. I just think that he was dead at the weight, and over the 2 years, his body outgrew the division. Over the 2 years, his body outgrew the division. Or however long it was. He outgrew the division. And, naturally you'd think, okay, this is my last fight, I'm moving up. But he moved up. And, even at 154, okay, you have to fight at 154. Even if you were to beat Crawford at 154, what does that mean? You're not world champion. Crawford's not world champion. Doesn't mean anything. So, people were making fun of Avanesian, not realising he was high on the WBO mandatory list. That's worldwide, not just USA-wide. Crawford was too fast, beat him to the punch. Spence time was off. Yeah, it was. But Errol Spence Jr. looked drained. He needs to stick with the jab and body smarts, shots pressure. Yeah, but Michael, even if he did those things, like I said in my breakdown, if Crawford would have got knocked out, if he had the same sort of defense that he had in those previous fights, he didn't. He tightened up. He was very tight. His defense was on point against Spence. His defense was on point, and when he's back, it was to one of the defensive things he was able to do. When he was back, was to the ropes. Now, he was able to throw that uppercut. That's being defensive, right? On the ropes, you're on a defensive position. You're under pressure, and he throws the uppercut. He wasn't on the front foot. He was doing it off the back foot, landing an uppercut, which means that in that position right there, it's not an offensive shot. It's a defensive shot because you're retreating. You're backing up. But that's a trap you set because Spence is going to come to you. But still would have caught him coming in. Yep, that's what I think. What I thought was going to be 50-50 fight came out to be every other Crawford fighter welterweight. Unfortunately for Spence, did I not say that there'd be an early knockdown in this fight? Did I not say there'd be an early knockdown in this fight? I could just sense, and it was an early knockdown, round 2, Spence going down. And I said as well, and I said in my pre-fight, that it's about opportunities. Who takes the opportunities in this fight? There'll be opportunities, but it's who takes them. Takes the opportunities will go on to win the fight. And if you look, there was nothing Spence was throwing. This is the first fight I've seen Spence throw punches and look like he can't punch. That's what he looked like, he couldn't punch. And again, that's a sign of being weight drained. So I please don't interpret my commentary on my post-fight to being, he's weight drained. Therefore, if he moved up, if the fight was up at 154, he'd win. No, he was weight drained. He stuck around to make the fight to his own detriment. That's what happened. And you stuck around to make the fight at your own detriment. 1, 2. You didn't listen to your trainer. Your trainer told you step around. You never stepped around. You never followed your trainer's instructions. And whereas Bo McIntyre, Bo Mac and Crawford worked as a team in that corner, and they paid attention. They followed the instructions. The change up in the Crawford camp was very good. Traded out the flicking jab for a power jab. It was like poison. Or because Crawford nullified his offense. Yeah, he did. He took the jab away. Took the jab away. You know, yeah. So Crawford was really focused in camp. Crawford seems to catch most error shots on the gloves. He did. So he was defensively responsible. If he wasn't defensively responsible, we'd have seen a different thing. But then even still, I don't know if Spence even had the power to knock Crawford out because he was weight drained. So we go back to that again. So Crawford, this is the Terence Crawford era. I don't see Errol. I'm honest. I like Errol. I like Crawford. I've got the reason to hate any guy, but I just think Crawford is the better fighter. I just don't think follow. I just don't think Spence can. I don't think Spence can make the adjustments. Now seeing this, he can't. I don't think Spence could follow his instructions because he was dazed, so dazed and nauseous in the fight. Earl Spence Jr. was the key weight catch with him. AJ losing mentality in gym. AJ next BWTM. It wasn't even competitive. Wow, Ingram, I'm shocked, mate. There's nothing to be shocked about, mate. If you're dead at the weight and then you won't follow your trainer's instructions, then this is what happens. The whole card was good, and the judges were actually sober. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Um, I. It's just a shame, when you think of super fights, yeah, and you do your prediction videos, you think to yourself, right, this is the ideal situation. The ideal situation. I'm thinking when I do pre-fights or do predictions in future or previews in future, I'd say the ideal scenario is both guys have made weight well. Both guys are good have good, are not weight drained, because once a guy's weight drained, you've got no fight, and it's something I guess I've learned and I've come to understand. So, all right, what happened to Nita Donaire? He got beat on points, so it was the end of Donaire. Right, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it all. This is the Terence Bud Crawford era. Congratulations, and I'm so glad to have interviewed a modern day great. Congratulations, Bud. I think the first knockdown shocked Spence. Stupid mistakes tonight. 154, that's the money fight for both. It is. Keep in mind, the heat in Texas 110F on some days, and it was hotter in the gym. Not an excuse, just info. Yeah, no, there's still no excuses. Still no excuses. The guy's weight drained, dead at the weight, and even if he moves up in weight, yeah, he might be physical stronger, and again, he's going to be Spence again will be relying on strength, physical strength, and power. But the timing of Crawford's going to be the problem. In the commentary, this is the Ingram, on the Jones era. You're the best, my friend. Yep. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Will you sleep now? Nah, man. In Africa, in Nigeria, they've just brought light. So I'm gonna sit down, maybe play some football or play some FM manager. Anyway, I've got an event today. I've got a launch day today. So our STEM program in cricket. By the way, just to let you know that our cricket has made national news, national television. Do check it out, Ikurudu Community Cricket. Check it out. It's in the playlist, so you can see the videos there as well. So the skill level was insane. But then, again, if you're weight drained, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You know, like I said, I can't stress it enough. You're weight drained. And what I don't know, I'm just going to say this, I'm just going to put this out there as well. When Crawford was walking and Spence was walking around with his little child all the time, was he more interested in being a family man than being a boxer? It's just little things like that. You bring your child to the gym and stuff like that. I don't know. You're looking for things. Maybe I'm overstretching, and like Spence is overstretching, But I'm glad to say in this post fight that most of the points I mentioned, bar the weight drain, were nailed. The overstretching from Spence, the defence from Crawford. Yeah, pretty good. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I'll see you all soon. Could Spence beat the Pride? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Floyd's athleticism. He's more athletic than Crawford. He wouldn't stand there and get hit with all them shots with Crawford. He'd be in and out and to the sides. He's much better footwork than Crawford. So Crawford wouldn't be able to land the shots that he's landing. So no, I don't think he beats. I don't think Floyd will ever beat Crawford. No. Challenge for Spence was the factor as well. Yeah, but what works for Spence against other fighters? I said anyone else in that division, he probably would have beaten. I still would like to see how Keith Thurman would fight. What's his name? Crawford, and then Danny Garcia. But those guys, Danny's moved up. Still like to see the fight. Floyd too good defensively. He is. Floyd was far more lethal at 130. Remember the Corrales performance? Whoa. Yep. I think Crawford's great. I think he's great, but I think Floyd's another level altogether. And Floyd wouldn't make the mistakes that Spence made, for sure. The prime Thurman would have been the fight of the year candidate now. Not so much, he could, Bud. Good morning, Anthony. Hope you're well. Bud, yeah, this is the Bud Crawford era. Let me go now. Thank you all so much for watching. Rate, subscribe, leave your comments, and let me know what you thought of my pre-fight thoughts. I'm out.